Alright, what's up guys? It's Chaos and another video yet again. I wanted to make this video before Donna came out, and yeah, because that's probably who I'm gonna be playing for a hot minute. Might make a few videos on her too once I figure her out for you guys. But today's video is going to be about Fifi again. A little bit more in-depth stuff. I've been playing her a lot more, and there's a few things that it's not common knowledge with her. It's a little bit more of the advanced stuff. So yeah, we'll just hop straight into it. This is gonna create that skill gap that there is in Fifi gameplay from just someone who has well stats, who can just kind of afford to not play her optimally, and then someone who's trying to max min your DPS in order to make sure that you're always number one on your raids or redeemers or whatever it may be, because Fifi is top 3 DPS in the game, top 4 something like that. She has to be somewhere in there. So you only get that sort of like top damage if you're playing her the proper way. So I'm gonna show you guys exactly how to do it. I know this is a long intro, but thank you guys for watching this video. Let's hop straight into it. You're gonna have to actually respect unblockables now. You can't just heavy standard in order to get out of it for free anymore. So I don't know if it was a bug, I don't know if it was intended, but it's out. So you have to actually start dealing with that stuff now. So yeah, so let's talk about shield enhancement really quick. The reason why I have it as a Z slot is because whenever you pop it, if the boss attacks you and you block it, and whenever you block it, if you counter attack, you build that goes from 150 to whatever else it may be. So it'll go up, like the duration will extend the more that you are attacked. Watch, you see it's 157, do 2 of them, 9 to 205, and it'll just keep doing that over and over again. So you really want to, and you can just see like that. Yeah, it's pretty much, it's infinite at that point. So like I said, you pop it once and you're done with it. So shield enhancement is really good because you really aren't going to be using it a lot. You pop it once and you should be done with it, unless you're dying and you don't really know the boss's patterns. So that's the shield enhancement for you. Just know if you are blocking and you counter attack, you get some seconds back to your duration, and that allows for your counter attack to actually go ahead and do a lot more damage. Yeah, so that's cool. Now let's talk about this one, your active, your focal point Quickslot, and why Quickslot. I know in my other one I said that you would want to use this one or your R one more, but after again soloing Lara and just figuring out some deeper tech to Fiona, you really only want to use this one, and there's a reason why, and I'll actually go ahead and show it to you really quickly. It won't take too long. So basically, the reason why you want to use your one all the time is because if you let's say you just did a string, right, and you immediately went into your one, you can immediately tap out of that move if you wanted to. So if you did one, you can immediately tab out of it. Now it doesn't work the same. You see what I'm saying? Like if you were to do this one, so you can't tab out for quite a while. I mean, you could still block, but even that, you know, it's a little bit riskier. You only really want to do that one if you're trying to catch up to the boss and block something, and that's if you do that and you block, you know. But you got to be careful with that. However, if you're trying to keep your positioning and still get a focal point, you're probably going to be pressing one, and then after you press one, you can immediately tab, and that's what it looks like. So the reason why I always use one now is because you can pretty much always input it freely and really not care about it, because it really doesn't matter. And then you press tab if the boss is about to attack you, and since that first little attack actually does like pretty good damage, that one right there, that's an actual attack. Whenever she drops the stance, that actually does damage. So yeah, and you can just cancel that out whenever you want. So that's really, really important. And I'm gonna show you why that matters in the future whenever we talk about another thing. Um, so that's the reason why you always want to use one, because you can immediately tap cancel it. And that's really important because animation canceling is how Fifi gets all of her big juicy damage. Alright, so now another thing I want to talk about is using Shield Bash to keep your DPS up and roll focus. So what's important about those two? So what roll focus is whenever you roll and you press right click and then you press it one more time. It takes SP to do so, but it's really, really, really good. Let me actually turn them on here and that. Okay, so let's say you're in the middle of your DPS rotations. Let's say the boss hits you or something like that, or let's say you try to do something and you want to get some DPS. That's how you do that. You know, this is actually really good. Let's say you just got knocked off the floor and you want to get straight back into DPS, or let's say the boss hits you and you try to, you see what I'm saying? It's a good way to kind of get a quick little focal point there. So you definitely want to start using that. Or let's say you're trying to catch up to a boss or whatever, definitely use that. You know, that's a powerful one that not a lot of people use. It's actually going to allow for you to kind of min max your DPS, because you can go straight into this, into another one of these, or you can go straight into this, into a shield block really, really quickly. So it's like a quick attack straight into a shield block, and then you can also do that into something like that to kind of combo that up, you know. So yeah, really, really cool, really, really important stuff. Now as for as shield bash, I think I talked about this in the first video, but I want to make sure I emphasize this again in this video. You want to absolutely shield bash every time you have standing endurance proc, or anytime you take a hit, period. I actually now don't actually ever use this to skip these, because now I've gotten a whole lot better with my slashing high rotations where I can always have it active. So I actually never like skip these with shield bash anymore. What I do now is I only use shield bash if I take a hit. And the reason why I do that, because remember, if slashing high is active, you can't tell the difference between that and then popping this. There's no difference between the timing, so using the shield bash is pointless at that point. So you really don't want to use shield bash whenever you're in slashing high. You just might as well continue these out, you know. Plus these you can animation cancel whenever you want, you know. You can block in between that with slashing high. It's better to do that and then block than to do this and then have to wait a bit to block, you know what I mean? So I never use that in slashing high, and since my slashing high uptime is pretty much 90% of the time, the only time I actually use my shield bash is whenever I take a hit. So whenever you proc standing endurance, it'll look something like this. Let's find it real quick. It'll look like that. Whenever that happens, not that one, but whenever that happens, you can cancel that rest of that animation out by pressing this quick slot button. And what that allows for you to do is, if you just took damage, it's like, oh shoot, you just hit me, but let me counter attack you right back. So let's say you gotta pretend, because this bot doesn't hit hard enough, but let's say he just hit me, right? Well, let's say I just did a heavy a standing endurance. I will come back and boom, and then do that, and you just picked up the rest of your rotation right after that, which means you have no downtime if you stay on top of your rotations. Pretty much that's what that means. So yeah, you definitely want to do that. That's probably the biggest thing that I don't see Fifi's doing that is killing your DPS. If you suffer a hit, you have to do that. You have to immediately press your 2, go into your 1-2, and then do your Amaranth cake and then finish it off, you know, and then go reset your rotations from there. So that's really, really important. The next thing that I want to talk about is actually attack speed. Okay, so why attack speed? Why are we talking about this? The reason why we are talking about attack speed is because this here is your most important stat on Fifi. Now I do have this, and I do also have this one here. Sometimes I'll run this just so that way I can have the extra so that way I can have the extra, you know, attack. However, that's not always the case. 84, 85 is kind of that sweet mark spot, because if you were to pop this, you have 141. And the reason why 141 is like that sweet spot, I'll show it in a bit. You don't really need any more than 141 in slashing high, because then it becomes, you start having what I call diminishing returns. So you really don't want to go any higher than 140. Like 150 is a little too much, and anything above that, yeah, you'll be fast as heck, but you won't be able to control it. And your block timing becomes super thin and super tight. It's basically like kind of like one frame blocking at that point. If you start going over the, like if you have 90 base speed or 91 base speed, yeah, you're gonna have so much diminishing returns that you're actually gonna start like thinking that the game is bugging out, and you like your blocks are not registering. I'm not saying that right, but they are actually registering, but you are just, the timing for your block has to be so specific and it's so short that it's not the same timing as it would be if you had 84 speed. And since every bit of speed that you add on to this character kind of exponentially by a percentage multiplies how much you get in slashing high, even just going from 84 to 90 is a huge difference. So you really don't want to like go over 85. 85 is that sweet spot. It's just, I mean, if you if you have perfect timing, then yeah, sure, you want the extra attack speed, go for it. But I wouldn't recommend anything over 85, because you really start like, your timing has to be impeccable. And if you're playing in a group, the boss's patterns, they change, or the timings vary. If the boss targets someone else, or you go for a block and then you slightly miss it, like the like Laura, whenever she does her swing kick or she does her AoE, the timing for that stuff varies depending on who she's going for. And if you block at time that you're used of with your muscle memory, and that's not the timing because she targeted someone else, you're gonna get hit. And if it's a one-hit KO, you're dead. So with the 84, you're allowed to be able to kind of keep your same timing. So that's really important to actually be in the 140. So this is kind of what you want to aim for, 84 or 85. That's a sweet spot. But anything more than that, you can have it if you have the skill, but you're going to get diminishing returns the moment you get past 85, because it's really just not worth it at that point. And the reason why I say 84 and 85 is the sweet spot is because of this right here. So whenever you pop it, this is extremely fast, but you basically have no gaps. See, you have no gaps. Like normally there's a huge gap between block and tap, but whenever you have this active, there's really not. Like you can even do that, and I'm doing my light in between. So yeah, that's really good, because that allows for you to basically do everything really fast. Like even this, let's say you just did this, you can immediately go into your block, or even if you did that, you can immediately go into your block, where you can one Amaranth kick and then immediately go into your block, or you can finish it off with this and immediately go into your block, or you can do both of those and then immediately go into that, or you can do the real one here. This is kind of the meta version here. You can do this, do your one, and then immediately go into your there's no stopping. You don't ever have to actually like respect anything that the boss throws. You just have to react. So whenever you have 140 attack speed, you can do whatever you want and spam your rotations and basically just keep doing the same combo over and over again. And the only time you have to actually like not do it is to react to the boss, and then basically block or do your tab if you're in the middle of an animation. So now, since that said, there's actually a really important thing that you have to do. So this takes a little bit of time to actually come out, right? Even still, like, you see what I'm saying? But you can immediately tab cancel that. Now if you have slashing high active, you'll notice that is actually like, you can't even tell that the move was even procced. And the reason why this is important is because this allows for you to load up a free focal point in between your rotations in order to be able to get that in case the boss does attack you right there. Because remember, like I said, you can do that and have this loaded up, and then it's basically you used it. But yeah, I don't know if that's making sense. You don't really have to like worry about focal point. Like you don't have to actually like, oh, I got to do all of this just to get one to come out really quickly. You can hurry up and like kind of like pocket one. It's kind of like cash saving on Eevee. You can pop it really quickly and tab and wait for the boss to hit you or whatever, and that allows for you to kind of like save that first focal hit, so that way you can first be defensive, block the attack, and then press your right click and you'll be able to get that focal point to come off, and then you'll be able to keep doing that over and over again. So that's the reason why that's important, because whenever you have slashing high active, you can immediately do that, and there's basically no difference between actually doing it like this, right, and then doing it like this. So you can't even tell the difference, right? And that's the reason why that's so important, because that's actually like, that's really, really important for Fifi. So try to add that into your arsenal. And then let's talk about block into tab, which is block and then tab. So again, if you don't have the attack speed, this is really slow. There's a big gap right there, right? You have to perfect that timing. However, if you do a light in between, it actually does allow for you to do it a little bit easier. So yeah, you want to get used to that. So yeah, the reason why I say do this is because if you block boss's attacks, you can immediately do a light attack quicker than this. See, this is waiting for something. However, if you're actually doing this and the boss hits you, you can immediately do your light attack right after. So that means you can immediately go block, blank, tab, block, blank, tab, and you can basically infinite block and always be safe. And since all of these animation cancel each other, you can do this forever, and that's really important if you don't know the boss's patterns. Now, this is not optimal, because optimal Fifi gameplay is actually blocking everything straight into a counter attack and max meaning that. However, if you're trying to be safe, or let's say you're trying to make sure that your next Amaranth kick is a crit, you can go ahead and do this into that, and then go into another block, do your counter attack, and then do your 1-2, and then that Amaranth kick will be a crit. So that's one way to do it if you know like the boss is about to do like a 3 hitting move or something like that, and you kind of want to store that tabs the little bonus, the shield deflect. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let me just show you quick. So if you didn't know, where is it at, counter attack, no, not that one, shield deflection. If you didn't know, this basically enhances your smash. Yeah, so it's really, really important if you want to actually go ahead and get that juicy damage. So yeah, I would always do it if you know it's about to be a 3 hitting attack. Now, if you know that you like, for example, instead of just blocking, this is very, very like min max here, but I'm gonna go into detail into this. So let's say you know, like for example, Lara, or someone who just attacks fast, like Brig, and you know that you're gonna have to block, and then block counter, because you don't have, let's say you're not in slashing high, so you can't like block counter, and then block counter. So you know you're gonna have to block, and then block counter. If you know you're going to have to do that, instead of just doing block, counter, what you can do is you can do block, tab, block, and then go into your counter, and that's gonna basically like supercharge that next attack. You get what I'm saying? So you kind of have to be aware of those moments. You kind of have to know the boss's patterns, but that's a way to kind of min max your DPS a little bit, and that allows for you to go crazy. Now again, if you have slashing high active and you can fit a counter attack in between that, it's better to just do the counter attack, and then counter attack double or whatever, and then go into finish your rotation. But if you know you can't do that and you're out of slashing high, then I would recommend doing that method of block, light attack, and do tab right after to animation cancel that. So that way you can go ahead and you can like get some sort of like boost off of the boss attacking you that much. Okay, so now since that's out of the way, let's talk about tab and when you should use it. So if you're going for min max damage, like you're trying to min max your DPS rotations, you only use tab whenever you're animation canceling your focal, or whenever you're animation canceling your Amaranth kick. That is literally the only time ever. That's literally the only time ever that you are going to use that button. If you use tab in any other way outside of the one that I just specified, which is, if you're trying to, a 3-hit pattern is coming that's really, really quick, is only use your tab if you're trying to animation cancel your kick, or if you're trying to animation cancel your focal point, like that. That's the only time that you're going to use that. Other than that, there's actually you can pretty much block really, really fast after you throw any attack out. So you see what I'm saying? Like if you do the attack, you're pretty much going to be able to do it. So there's no point, if let's say you finish the kick, there's no point in going into your tab. If you already finished the kick, just go ahead and block, because that block actually comes out really fast, and this is without slashing high active. Again, if you're sitting in slashing high, that just automatically becomes a whole lot faster. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and I'll show that really quick. If you were to do this, see what I'm saying? It's pretty much, you don't have to ever tab. You only tab when you're trying to animation cancel, whenever you know your Amaranth kick is not going to be able to hit without you taking damage. That's the only time you're going to hit tab, and the other only time you hit tab is for that right there, or for a moment like that, or for a moment like this, and you're about to do the second one and you do it again. So that's literally the only time you do it. So yeah, other than that, you never really use it for anything else if you're min-maxing. So now let's talk about the Amaranth kick and why you should always do one kick into sweep and never ever do 2 kicks. And again, we're talking about min-max here. So if you were to do 2 kicks, yes, that is a lot of damage, but the sweep does great damage also, and it gives you stamina back, which allows for you to maintain and conserve your stamina really, really good. And on top of that, if you do this, it allows for you to immediately, again, you can go into a block immediately right after that, right? And that's without slashing high. That's how fast that is. But with slashing high, it's even better, pretty much like this. Trust me, the way that it works, if that attack landed, you're going to be able to block after that. That's pretty much how it works, okay? That's how fast that block actually comes out after that sweep. And the reason why the sweep is good, because again, if you can do a block really quickly, then that means you can also do this really quickly. And this is what's important. So let's say you popped it, whatever, right? You did this, bing, 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 1, and you can immediately go into that, and you just loaded your focal point, because that's your actual optimal rotation, by the way, is to do this, bing, bing, and then immediately go into that and finish those 2 off. So remember it. Let's say you don't get it off or something like that, you can immediately just tab block it to animation cancel it, be safe, and then follow up with your next focus attack. And let's say you actually did your focus attack again, you only actually do tab to animation cancel. If you know that you're only going to get 1 focal point out, don't sweat it. Block, get your counter attacks. That will be more damage leading into an Amaranth kick, into another sweep, into another rotation, that you can then again kind of repeat that process, if that makes sense. So never ever ever be afraid to use block if you're in focal point. Like a lot of people, they only use tab in focal point, and that's just not good. If you do your first focal point and it hit, again, always use block, because tab, number 1, it doesn't block everything in the game, and number 2, you get more damage from counter attacks, and that leads into an Amaranth kick, which will always give you more damage than just doing a 1 focal into a tab into another focal, and then 2 of them right there. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Let's talk about awakenings. So pretty much you want to put damage on everything except a few of them, and that shield bash you want to have on reduced SP consumption 70%. If the 70 one, if you can, because what that allows for you to do is to basically always be plus on SP whenever you do that. So even if you were to go ahead and let me just go ahead and do this really quick. Even if you were to go ahead and do the sweep, because the sweep doesn't give you literally nearly barely any SP as the Amaranth kick does, so you lose a little bit of SP by not doing 2 Amaranth kicks. However, it doesn't really matter though, because if you can do that into that, you'll be pretty golden. But the reason why I say you want to put the SP 70 on is because I have 89 right here. You do it and you're at 121, so you're always building SP at that point, you know. So yeah, you want to have that on that slashing high. Obviously you want to have that on reduce SP consumption. It actually should be on 70, but I just haven't done that yet. It's not really that big of a deal to me. As far as your taunt, I would put on the cooldown, because if you're a person who likes to have aggro, again, having aggro is a good way to build SP, because that means you're guaranteeing the bosses are going to attack you. That means you're guaranteed to get those counterattacks to come in. This, obviously, you want to have the highest, because that means you're going to have less downtime when having your slashing high, so you want to have that active. Everything else is just damage. So yeah, and that's your awakenings for you. Now let's talk about a little cool quick tech or whatever that I figured out whenever I was playing Vela, but I figured out that it also works for Fifi too. And all that it is if you're trying to pop slashing high and you stand still, you're gonna have to like wait out that animation before you can move again, right? However, if you look at it in a different way, if you're moving and you pop slashing high, it immediately pops it. So what you can do is you can actually go ahead, if you're trying to maintain positioning, you can pop it and stop moving, and that allows for you to maintain your positioning, right? And you can kind of do this with a couple of moves actually. So just wait that timer out. All right, cool. So what you can do is you can do something like this, where you like pop it, move, pop it, and then you got both of them going, and that only took you like a few seconds, and you didn't have to wait through that super long animation of popping that. So you always want to pop slashing high while you're moving. Okay. So yeah, that's a pretty cool thing. You definitely want to start taking advantage of that, and that's really important because that allows for you to kind of have smaller gaps whenever you're trying to pop slashing high, whenever you're doing damage, so you don't have to like sit there and be like, okay, I gotta wait till the boss is like not attacking me and then wait that long animation out. You're just able to immediately pop it. Let's say you did this, bing, move immediately, and then you're right back into your rotations, and you automatically pop that slashing high. I'll actually give you an example of that real quick. So see what I'm saying? And it's already popped, and there really wasn't any gap in between that, you know. So that's a cool way to kind of pop your slashing high without having to worry too much. You actually can do that other ways too, even like in between blocks, but it's a little bit tighter timing and it's not really that effective. You might as well just go ahead and finish the counter attack off and all of that. So yeah, now let's talk about another really important thing with Fifi, which is actually aiming your counter attacks. Now this is really important because this is how a lot of people miss out on DPS and they don't really know it. It's like a sleeper hit. If you didn't know, if you counter attack with Fifi and you don't hold the direction, it's always going to target at the boss. Now that might seem like, okay, well, I just let go of directions, right? And it's always going to counter attack towards the boss. However, the problem with that is if you are doing that and like let's say you're doing that and the boss moves behind you, like Laura for example, let's say she did a move that is going to bring her from there to here, and you're following the boss, the first attack might whiff if she's like there, and in a split second she's going to be here. So you kind of have to be careful with that. So in order to kind of counteract that, what you need to do is actually do something like that. So that way you can guarantee that every single counter attack you do is going to hit the boss. So just be aware that you can actually control the direction of your counters depending on if you now this is min maxing here, but you have to know where the boss is going to be to abuse this. But just know if you hold a direction, the counter is going to go in that direction. And that's really important because that allows for you to kind of position yourself if you want to, or whatever, you know. So yeah, that's really, really important. um, so yeah, now since we got that out of the way, um, why is that important? That's important because if you miss a shield counter, that is really, really going to like tank your DPS. And if you are consistently missing it, or if you're not aware of where the boss is going to be at, and again you're going for the like your personal best, whatever, you missing counter attacks is literally your best way to get damage if the boss is attacking you. So you missing a 1 out of 2 every other time you do it or something like that, that's an extreme exaggeration, but that's going to really affect your DPS numbers and your ability to always have the #1 spot if that's what you're going for. So be aware that you do have to sometimes aim these, and you can't just be cheap and just space bar and then let go of your directional keys and then just press right click. Sometimes you actually have to be aware of where the boss is and then aim it towards the boss with your directional keys. That's really, really important. And with that being said, let's talk about the last thing that I want to talk about before I kind of go into the whole video, the Lara solo part of this. And that's basically going to be slashing high in depth. So I went over slashing high in my old video, but I'm gonna go over it again once more. And basically what this is if you are just starting a fight, I would always, me personally, I am just so used to being in slashing high, and I don't like to time things earlier, so I love to build my muscle memory with always having slashing high active. So I always actually pop my werewolf paw at the beginning, just because werewolf paw allows for me to immediately get used to having 141 attack speed. I'm not blocking at the speed of 84, so I'm able to keep that consistency up. However, this is not the most optimal way to play. You don't want to actually pop this at the beginning because you actually lose your ability to have 100%, 90% uptime. You'll have like 80 or 70%, but you can make it up if you're stuck in a rotation that you have to finish, and then that allows for your slashing high to become active again or something like that. So there's ways to make it up, but if you're trying to go for optimal min max, whatever, I would actually recommend not doing that and actually just popping your slashing high first. Now again, since slashing high takes 3 bars of SP to use, if you pop this, I would recommend not popping shield charge after if you don't have the SP, because that means you might not actually have the SP after you pop the slashing high on that one. That's 3 bars, and then you pop you pop this one, and that's 2 bars. That's basically all of an SP bar in like 22 seconds twice. So 44 seconds, you're using a whole bar of SP. If the boss is not attacking you, you cannot upkeep that. So with that being said, I would actually recommend doing slashing high first and then going into your greater werewolf paw, because it doesn't cost any SP. That allows for you to build up more SP over time, and then you can pop another slashing high, and that allows for you again build up SP over time, and then you can go ahead and pop your shield charge, and that allows for you to build enough SP again over time to pop another slashing high, and then you would have to wait a few seconds to pop your slashing high again. But yeah, now if you know, for let's say if you're soloing, that's not optimal. You actually want to do slashing high, shield charge, slashing high, greater werewolf paw, slashing high, and then shield charge if it's available. It should be like 5 seconds off or something like that. But again, if you're doing your optimal rotations, you really want to always finish your rotation before you pop your next slashing high, unless you know for a fact that you're going to miss out on let's say Lara's 1-hit KO. You cannot counterattack in between those hits if you don't have slashing high active. You can't counterattack between all of them. So that's a moment where you actually would stop your DPS to pop slashing high to make sure you can actually counterattack in between those 1-hit KOs, or you will miss out on more DPS than just sitting there and be like, okay, let me finish my rotation and then forget about slashing high. So you kind of have to be aware of those moments where you You need to have slashing high active, and the moments where you can kind of finish your rotation. So let's say if you just did a sweep and you know slashing high is going while you're doing your light attacks, go ahead and finish your rotation and go ahead and actually do your focal point right after that, and finish that full rotation. And then after you do your one, do your two focal points, or if you can't do two, then block whatever. Just keep fighting the boss while you can, because the only time you really want to pop slashing high and still have min max kind of DPS is whenever you finish one and you're gonna pop it really quick and then like move stop and then continue your light attacks into your kit. That's the only time that you want to do it. To stop your DPS rotation just to pop slashing high is really, really risky, and you're missing out on a lot of DPS over time. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that I have to say for Fifi for this kind of update, a little bit more in depth to Fifi. These are my current stats right now. Not anything too impressive, but nevertheless, good stats. I mean, I soloed Lars, so that's cool. Now I'm actually go ahead and hop into Alara, and I'll just kind of show you all of this, in progress and how it looks like. So yeah, cool. I'm gonna get it to, pop off, and yeah. So yeah. See, I waited there just because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't gonna whiff. See right here, that moment, you can't do that if you're not in slashing high at all. If you're not in slashing high, you're gonna get hit. So you have to be very careful. See right there, you can counter attack. That's another thing I didn't really go over, but your counter attacks have a little bit of iframe. So if you time them perfectly like that, you can actually like block an attack or be invulnerable to an attack if you time it properly. Now that's really, really, really risky if you don't know the timing for that. But yeah. Okay, got that. Oh, didn't do two. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good example or whatever. It's pretty much Fifi for you. It's pretty much how she looks, how she feels. So yeah, I don't think I really need to kind of continue on anymore. Oh, that's sucky. I did it too early again. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. See right here, that's what you have to do if you're not in slashing high. And again, you always finish your rotation before you pop slashing high, like that. Oh, I didn't even see where she was. But yeah, let me just do this before I die out here. But yeah, that's pretty much Fifi for you. So thank you guys for watching this video. Honestly, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, like it, subscribe if you want to. Definitely some Donna stuff coming out. Even Letty, I'm gonna definitely do some stuff on her whenever she comes out for NA. So yeah, this has been my next part of my Fifi guide. Hopefully you guys liked it. Hopefully it was informational for you. Hopefully you saw a little bit of optimal gameplay. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this. Peace out. See you in the next one.